It has everything you need, almost everything you want. And with the world having gone to hell, you can stay there nearly forever. Outside, the world rots, but here, in the safety of your time capsule world, everything is frozen in time. You can survive, but can you live?
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time. Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all times. Dawn of the Dead.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This here is Gen X Man, and it is Saturday. And that means it is time for Super Saturday, the show where we discuss all things super and awesome. And today, we're going to dive into the work of a man I deeply admire and one of his arguably lesser known projects that, at least for me, had a profound impact. Let's get into it. Alrighty, everyone. Let me set the stage for you all. George A. Romero, legendary creative force behind the film that launched an entire genre of horror, has been biding his time. He's been waiting. Eager to avoid being typecast as just a horror director, he delayed making his second zombie film. But now it's 1974 and he's been touring the Monroeville Mall in Pennsylvania at the invitation of his friend Mark Mason of the Oxford Development Company, and the bug has bitten. Romero is entranced by the bliss of shoppers as they go about their mall business. Mason takes him deeper into the bowels of the mall, showing him hidden passages and areas. As they journey, Mason makes a remark that even in the face of an emergency, a person could survive in the mall, completely independent and shielded. Inspiration received, Romero gets to work on his next Dead movie. Surprisingly, nobody in the US wants to back the film. Romero only being the legendary force behind one of, if not the greatest zombie film ever made, one of the best horror films ever made, arguably one of the best films ever made. that's an argument for another time. I mean, why would you back this guy, am I right? As chance would have it, backing would come to him. Horror director, screenwriter, and producer Dario Argento and his, extended horror family there, whom you may recognize from Suspiria, among many other 70s and 80s Italian horror films, has heard through word of mouth that Romero and his producer, Richard Rubenstein, are looking for a backer. He's a fan of the original Dead film and gets in touch with the pair, eager to back the new project in exchange for international distribution rights. It's fair. Further, he invited Romero to Rome, where he could work, and Argento could help with the plot elements. Reaching out once again to Mason, Romero was able to secure that Monroeville Mall, as it is managed by Mason's company, the aforementioned Oxford Development. Principal shooting begins November 13, 1977. So it took a couple years to get all these ducks aligned. I realize I was only a toddler at the time, but I would have loved to have been there on that set. Maybe an extra or something. I remember the malls of the 70s and 80s. They were something else. But I digress. Filming was tricky. The crew only had an 8-hour window each day to get things done, as the mall had to reopen for normal business. So they would shoot from 11 at night till 7 in the morning. The scenes where you see them all coming to life with the music coming on and such, that was legit. They did take a short break for the last 3 weeks of the year to avoid possible continuity problems and lost shooting time, but resumed January 3rd, 1978, and shooting was otherwise constant and unbroken. A little bit of trivia for y'all. The scenes of the group's hideout at the roof wasn't actually part of the mall. Romero had that built by his production company, Leighton Image. Nor was the elevator shaft part of the mall either. And in addition, the gun store wasn't in the mall. Firearms Unlimited was a shop over in East Liberty at the time. One more note of trivia, the police dock scene. I remember noting how, I don't know, gritty it looked in the film. Like, it gave me bad vibes, even more so than the tenement of zombies, and I could never place why. It turns out it was shot on location in Pittsburgh. Well, I've been to Pittsburgh, and having heard that bit of trivia explained why it put me on alert. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Apologies to any fans of Pittsburgh out there. I'm just messing. Now, getting back to the details. Romero went with an entirely new story for his second outing, carrying over nothing beyond the zombie apocalypse itself. Our new cast of characters is tight, with Stephen Andrews and his girl Francine Parker, their friend Roger DeMarco, and Roger's new buddy Peter Washington. Now, there are several bit characters, sure, but these are the core ones. The plot begins with the world having gone to crap in the wake of the reanimated dead. Pitched battles are being fought by what appear to be deputized militias, police, and whatever military assistance they can get, going block to block, door to door, trying to root out and eliminate the zombies. However, there's a strong theme of cultures that refuse to hand over their dead, exacerbating the problem of the spreading plague. And there's a great line in here by Peter.
Why do these people keep them here?
Because they still believe there's respect in dying.
So, with things as bad as they are, you're going to have desertions. Stephen can get out, so he tells Fran to meet him at the roof, and he's bringing his buddy Roger. Roger brings his new buddy Peter. So, we've got a quartet, just enough to fill up the chopper. They flee, get a nice montage of how things are going across the countryside, and as an aside, I always laugh when they get to the panorama of how are things going in the country. And I can confirm 100% that's exactly what would happen. We'd be out there with our guns, drinking coffee from the thermos, socializing with neighbors, and generally having a great old time. Don't even doubt that for a second. One of the many reasons the notion of a zombie apocalypse doesn't elicit quite the same response out here in the hills as it does with city folk, but I digress. Eventually, they come across the Monroeville Mall, although in the movie, to my knowledge, it's never stated as such. They land to raid, but then notice this location has everything. It's got food, it's got guns, it's got clothes, it's got entertainment, it's got an independent power source, and most importantly, it is a defensible position. Sadly, in buttoning up the place, they lose Roger, but not all at once. He's bitten, it takes him some time to turn, and poor Peter has to be the one to deal with putting his friend down. The very friend that got him here in paradise while the world outside goes to crap. So it's almost a question of what is the cost of a paradise in a situation like this? Is it one man's soul, your own? But I feel like that's reaching just a little, so we're moving on here. Things begin to strain between the trio as the ennui takes hold. They have everything, they're surviving, but are they living? Fran and Stephen have fractured while Peter is mostly just coasting. There's probably a reality out there where Fran and Peter get together eventually as Stephen descends ever deeper into his own angst. However, as fate would have it, the location is found out by raiders. A biker gang, well armed and generally just out to watch the world burn, tear through the place like a wildfire, wrecking the peace and calm and stability of the mall and his group of survivors. There's a firefight, Stephen doesn't make it, Peter and Fran decide to bug out rather than stay and clean up after the raid. Before they do, however, we see a scene where Peter contemplates topping himself. It's an understandable temptation. How can you hope to rebuild in such a world, especially when jackasses like this are bound to sweep through and screw up your good thing with regularity? And there was an ending written where Romero considered Peter and Fran both ending themselves. I'm glad he opted out of that one. For me, the struggle is the point, and I like watching narratives where people keep fighting, so this made me smile. The fight is everything. The pair fly off, and the end is left dangling for the audience to interpret. And I won't descend into that here. That's a whole nother video. Now, the film itself was a massive success, grossing allegedly $66 million on a $640,000 budget. You can see the math there, especially back in the late 70s. Further, it stirred a great deal of controversy for not just at the time, incredible gore by effects artist Tom Savini, which launched him into superstardom among horror makeup artists, but also the societal jabs, such as the criticism of consumerism, amongst other topics. The film itself is considered one of the greatest ever made and one of my own personal favorites. It's 100% a time capsule of the late 70s, just before the world fell off the ledge into the 80s, living in the shadow of the Cold War and the bomb. It still clung to that bright, vibrant feel of that decade. It still had that highbrow intellectualism, that touchy-feely spiritualism where the inherent humanity of human beings was one of the most important things we as a race should hold on to. The acting is superb. Every member of the cast totally committed to turning in the best performance they can. The filming is Romero's usual solid work with numerous examples of him pushing himself and the notions of the time, finding new angles and new tricks and techniques all throughout the film. And the story itself is well written, entertaining, and fun, with just enough social commentary to make this old hillbilly chuckle and nod. So it's 5 stars for me. Would highly recommend. And definitely get yourself a physical copy. You know what I always say, get your physical media. Now, I've rambled on long enough about this treasure from yesteryear. Get yourself a copy today. Enjoy it with some friends. And it's Saturday. Don't forget to watch some cartoons today. Keep the tradition alive. It's Saturday morning, y'all. And while you're at it, roll some dice and read a comic. Do something fun. Make some memories. And as always, have a good